Welcome everybody. I am back. Gonna be doing 3 movie reviews today. It's a little late, but I'm gonna get right into it. But before I do, like this video. Make sure the like button is still functional on YouTube because I've been having some issues recently. But leave a comment below and let me know what you guys think because I'll be 3 movies, 2 of which is about Pokemon, and the second one will be about Digimon. 3 movies. Uh, man, I initially because I put this on the list, a few years ago, and I always thought I was contemplating on whether or not should I, because like with Yu-Gi-Oh, when I did the movie reviews for that anime, I wanted to go through the series first before I go through the movies. However, uh, because Pokemon itself is quite a lengthy anime, which I will eventually get to, so I can do my uh, give my thoughts on the season. Matter of fact, I'm thinking about like bulking it up into like the Indigo League and do a review for that, and then the Orange Islands, and then do a review for that, and etc. etc. I think that would probably be easier rather than season because there's so much. Uh, and Ash's adventures just recently, well, not that recently, but fairly recently, just concluded altogether. So eventually, I got a lot to go through, but I figure because I'm nearly waiting on each episode of One Punch Man season 3 episodes to come in on Hulu so I can watch each episode. Then once it's officially done, because I watched the dub stuff, I will give my overall thoughts on season 3 of One Punch Man. Then I'll get back to binging some Naruto Shippuden. Because once I'm done with that, I will get into the Bleach anime. Because I still haven't seen like the more recent uh, season that came out a couple of years ago at this point. Because I want to revisit all of Bleach before I go into that last one. Uh, but once I'm done with Bleach, then I think it'll be a good time to go into Pokemon. And maybe in somewhere after I go through a bulk of Pokemon, then I'll switch over to Digimon because Pokemon is so long and it got more stuff than Digimon does. I'll figure it out, but that's just the next foreseeable reviews for TV shows that I really want to cover in terms of anime. And I think after Pokemon and Digimon, I gotta see if I kind of take a break from anime in general. Oh, and then there's the My Hero Academia final season. I'm still waiting for the dub to be released for that. So some point along, I'll have to, if I'm in the middle of another TV show, I'm gonna probably have to put a pause on that so I can watch all of the last season of My Hero Academia. So I give my thoughts on that, so I can wrap all that up. Uh, but yeah, uh, and eventually maybe I'll try to get into get back into One Piece anime. Because the last time I watched One Piece was when they got that when they recruited that skeleton guy. I think that's the last time I watched any Bleach. Sorry, One Piece. But that I like One Piece well enough, but it's not one of my tippy top favorites. And that is just finally after 1,000 episodes, finally wrapped up. Uh, anyway, so what I'll be covering today is Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, and it's God, It's such a nostalgic movie, and back in '98, it Pokemon fans were hyped as hell. I'm pretty sure I was in the movie theater when went and saw it. Uh, it takes place during the Indigo League. Oh man. Uh, of course, we got the great Veronica Taylor voicing Ash Ketchum, Eric Stewart as Brock, who also voices Squirtle and Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh, and many other characters. Rachel Lillis as Misty. Uh, uh, the late great because there's a lot of voice actors for Pokemon that passed away in the past few years at this point. So like Rachel Lillis has passed away, who also voices Jessie. Uh, Maddie Bluestein, who voices Meow, passed away. So yeah, it is yeah. We got Jay Gold as Mewtwo, uh, Ed Paul as Giovanni, who running theory, and I'm more inclined to believe it, is Ash's father. That's just like it's kind of like how people believe that Jar Jar Binks is a secret Sith that kind of orchestrated all this stuff, even something that Palpatine couldn't sense. That's kind of like the running rumor, but I'm more inclined to buy that Giovanni is possibly Ash's father. That went on a Pokemon journey, something happened, he decided to take up and lead a criminal organization. Uh, uh, but that's just the theory. One of the biggest theories in the Pokemon canon. Anyway, uh, and I miss this style of animation because even though it still has bits of CG usage in here, it wasn't used as like a crutch. And compare this to how like the Pokemon anime has been in the past handful of years. Not even I'm not even including Sun and Moon. I think it's going as far back as I don't know, prior to even like Shield and Sword era. And but I really cannot stand the Sun and Moon animation. I'm sorry, I can't. The balloon hair, everything looks kind of rubbery. Ash has no nose anymore for some reason. It's just like certain animation styles. I just I understand like bigger budget, times change, technology change, but it's just like they looked at certain things. It's like, yep, greenlit it. Anyway, the movie opens very beautifully, where we are introduced to Mewtwo, who is just being waken up in like a containment area, where he's surrounded by a bunch of scientists who tells him that he is a clone of the mythical Pokemon Mew, that through a artifact that has traces of DNA, like I guess hair, fossilized hair or something like that. It's kind of like in a way Jurassic Park in a way. You just find strands of remnants of fossilized DNA to bring to life assumed long dead animal. However, Mew is still around, but because of its powers, it's like got long lasting kind of life. Uh, it's more. I won't say it's a cosmic entity, but it's close to that realm. Uh, both Mew and Mewtwo is a psychic type, but Mewtwo has been experimented on to be like supposedly the most, well, not supposedly, definitely is a very powerful psychic type, but Mew is no slouch either. Um, uh, so clearly these scientists work for Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket, clearly, making Mewtwo, trying to turn him into a weapon. Now, if you notice, if you saw the Japanese version, now I've seen clips of the Japanese version. I did not watch the actual full Japanese version, but I understand what they was going with because there's like extra stuff included with like a young girl and other clone Pokemon experiments, and it's very one to one to how Shadow the Hedgehog was created, and Shadow the Hedgehog was created in the same year when his debut was in the same year Mewtwo was debuting. So, uh, is I don't think there's like any copying going on from either company. I think it's one of those like rare occasions where great minds think alike kind of situation, and both came out like icons. Shadow the Hedgehog and Mewtwo are legit icons, and uh, uh, so Mewtwo uh, uh, has some kind of a level of existential crisis because it's typical in certain clones kind of stories. It's like, so I'm just a clone. I got no direction, will, choice of my own. I'm just a carbon copy of something else. I wasn't born the same way as the original. I was made, and it kind of reminds me of a movie that I reviewed, uh, Multiplicity, starring Michael Keaton, which is also on the on my YouTube channel, so you can check it out. I don't think I brought it up there because it's been a few years, but looking at here is just a typical clone story where it's like, because in that movie the clones of Michael Keaton's character, Doug, they have a kind of beef with the original because they constantly being tucked away, only being drawn out to do certain tasks that he just kind of getting tired of, or just want to take a break a minute from. And when that job is done, they get tucked away in like a loft somewhere, and they feel like, okay, we got more to offer beyond just being a set of tools for you to pull out of the toolbox whenever it suits you. We want to go out. We want to have fun. We want to socialize. We want to do stuff outside of work or cleaning or whatever. And this is what I see with Mewtwo, where he's having that kind of existential crisis. It's just like, do I got no purpose of my own? Clearly, you don't care. So he ends up breaking out, destroying the entire facility, killing everybody. It's kind of obvious he killed everybody. Obviously, I'm not sure about the Japanese version, but clearly the dub version, you don't see it, but it's fairly obvious. Even to my young kid brain, it's kind of fairly obvious that he murdered a lot of people, because that entire laboratory was completely decimated. Uh, Whoever got off that island earlier that day is probably the luckiest bastards alive, because when they got worried about what happened, they was like, "Oh my god, I just left there uh, I was just hitting the shores when I got worried about. I was just heading home when I got worried about what happened. Like, oh my god." Like I just clocked out kind of thing. Can you imagine? Uh, Giovanni eventually shows up when he was called in about Mewtwo waking up and the experiment being a success. He, obviously only views Mewtwo as a tool, so he uh, feed him a bunch of BS about like being partners, teaching him how to utilize his powers. So Mewtwo went along, and if you watch the anime, because this first tiny bit of the first act meshes pretty well with the anime, because there's certain parts that aligns with certain episodes that I remember. Uh, like Giovanni utilizes Mewtwo in this kind of rudimentary Iron Man type of armor to kind of focus his psychic powers and teach him how to utilize it very effectively instead of, like, as he puts it, act like a wildfire. So he uses Mewtwo as like a his sixth Pokemon, because he is also the gym leader of the Viridian City, of Viridian City, and he holds like the Earth Badge. Somehow he's able to be like a gym leader, because I guess use it as like a legitimate front. And there's a part where you clearly see Gary from the backside. He doesn't have any speaking lines, but there's clips obviously from the show where Gary clearly lost. And I do vaguely remember the episode where Gary was leaving leaving the gym and bumps into Ash when he mentions how he beat me as good as I am. Because at that time, Gary was pretty much like a smug prick with a bunch of groupies. So he went and challenged like a different gym, because the Indigo League era was kind of weird, because clearly it establishes that Kanto Reason has other league badges that's never seen or heard of before, and you got these somehow he ended up getting like an 8th badge to qualify for the Kanto Indigo League, because I've seen other people with badges that isn't the badges of what we've seen from the Kanto League, of the Kanto region. And we also seen like a clip where Mewtwo had a falling out with Giovanni, where Giovanni just lets it all, like, the mask fall off. It's like, yeah, you're just a tool. Your purpose is to serve me. That's all you gonna ever be. Clearly, this dude was arrogant enough to talk this mess to a psychic type Pokemon whose powers been enhancing over the, I'm not sure how long this been, but clearly let's give it months. And he ends up breaking out, destroying the most of the gym. And as he's flying out, I remember a clip from, or at least the episode where we see that exact image of Mewtwo flying out of the building, where I'm not sure it's Ash at the gang or somebody else who's seen some kind of mysterious Pokemon flying out of the building. And this is like clearly happening in between, somewhere between like getting that 8th badge and heading towards the Indigo League. It's got to be somewhere around there. So, because Ash didn't challenge Giovanni, him and Giovanni, matter of fact, now I'm thinking about it, Ash and Giovanni never seen each other. in the series. They never met. And it's probably a reason why they never met. Like I said, probably because it might be like a suspicion that these two are father and son. Anyway, that's where Team Rocket, Jesse and James, kind of take over, and they hold the badge, but they easily get beat. The badge falls out of their hands, and Ash picks it up, so he got the eighth badge to qualify. It was a whole thing. Uh, uh, anyway, so Mewtwo decides like I can't trust no humans. They all mistreated me. They did me wrong, and I'm just a glorified clone that's been experimented on. Like screw everybody. Uh, I'm gonna shape the world to how I want it to be, and maybe that gives me some level of purpose. Um, Fast forward some time later, where we get into the bulk of the story, where Ash and his friends is on, like sitting on the meadow, about to eat some lunch, where some bandana pirate looking dude comes up and challenges Ash to a Pokemon match. How does he know Ash? His reputation, had preceded him by this point. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. We get the kick ass Pokemon theme song as Ash mops the floor with this dude, who proceeds to cheat by throwing out half of his other Pokemon arsenal, and Pikachu just mollywops the rest of them after Squirtle and Bulbasaur like did their thing. However, one of the Pokemon that guy has was a Golem, which was a Rock type, which shouldn't be effective against someone like Pikachu. But it's the anime. The first time Pikachu battled Brock for the Boulder badge, his electricity worked against his Onyx, albeit thanks to the water from the sprinkler system kind of conducted the electricity, so kind of amplified to be effective. It's a whole thing. Anyway, a Dragonite shows up to deliver a message to Ash because he got invited to meet with this secret Pokemon trainer who wants to challenge the best trainers out there. Like I said, this is probably set sometime after he got his eighth badge, so he should be, pretty skilled at this point. So, they go to this nearby port where storms is raging, thanks to Mewtwo causing a massive storm, which to this day, even hardcore Pokemon fans, most of which having a hard time grappling with the random powers Mewtwo just exhibits, like causing like a rainstorm, like he's freaking Storm from the X-Men, which is kind of weird. And it's like, no psychic type. I mean, sure, maybe his psychic abilities could move. You can maybe. I'm not a weatherman here, or meteorologist, I should say, but maybe if you can cause like the clouds to merge together in some kind of weird formation, it kind of forces them to make a thunderstorm. But you have to keep that up. Even if he could do it, he has to keep that up. And clearly he's not constantly doing it. But maybe when he gets it started, it just keeps on going until he kind of make it dissipates. But being the weather is just kind of like he should do it on his own. Like I said, I shouldn't really think too much on it, but it's just like a weird power that he just kind of threw in there for the movie, just to show how awesome Mewtwo is. Is Mewtwo awesome? Of course, but I don't think you need to throw in random powers just to show how badass he is. He's part of Mewtwo and Mew is considered the most powerful psychic types in the Pokemon franchise. So I don't think that is like needed to throw in. There's also another just random extra power they kind of threw in there that makes zero sense, but we'll get to it. So Officer Jenny and some random, I don't know what accent that is, what nationality is supposed to be represented from this woman, Greek, Russian type. I don't know. And it's a very thick accent mentioning about, you know, tears and this whole thing with tears from this woman. And if you watch the Japanese version, there's a whole thing with tears bringing life, and that as a kid did not pick up on that, but as I got older, rewatching this, it's like, oh, that fits in later, rather than it feeling random as a kid. Um, but they warned people, including the Ash and a couple of other trainers who got the same invitation to meet with this mysterious Pokemon trainer, uh, to go on this island. But because the storms are so choppy, there's no way anybody can ferry them over there. But they know they gotta get there. They couldn't wait. So because these other trainers have big water type Pokemon like a Gyarados, a Dugong. Well, and there's another one who actually has a Pidgeot that can kind of fly through the storm. So they managed to make it there fairly easy. But even though Ash and Misty have water Pokemon, Squirtle and Staryu, they're not big enough to carry all of them. And they definitely not powerful enough water type Pokemon to blaze through this current. Because this is long before the Orange Islands and Ash getting a Lapras, mind you. And uh, uh, they end up bumping into a disguised Jesse and James uh, in the stereotypical Swedish accent, ferrying them to, because after finding out about this invitation, they still trying to catch that Pikachu because that's usually their big goal. Uh, uh, and really quick, because I'm not sure I'm going to bring it up when I eventually review the Pokemon series. After a certain point, and I think I said this maybe by the time we got to the Hoenn region, it's like, I don't think, like, because if you watch the other Pokemon spin-off, the where you are following Red from the actual game, Pokemon Journeys, I think it was called. Uh, Giovanni eventually disbanded the Team Rocket organization. So, I'm not sure exactly when, because clearly they still established during the Johto region, because he pops up at least a couple of times, if I recall correctly. But after a certain point, they stopped talking with this guy, and it's like, why you're still like carrying on? It's like, dude, they even care about this Pikachu anymore. But now it's kind of like, like got nothing better else to do, kind of thing. And it's kind of weird. It's like, I understand maybe early on Pikachu makes seem like the most powerful type of Pikachu there is, but there's clearly more powerful Pokemon that kick this Pikachu's ass. So it's not really all that special. I think there was like kind of like a episode, I'm not sure when, they kind of semi addressed it, but it ended up being like, no, this is our purpose, this is our goal. And I think they made a joke about it. It's like, got nothing better else to do, let's go get that Pikachu. It's kind of like, this is their thing now. And God bless them, we end up loving them. Because after the series ended, I'm not sure if this was like, I'm pretty sure it was kind of like fan made, but it's kind of like Ash saying his goodbyes to, Jesse and James after, like, when Ash's last hurrah is about to come up. But it's kind of like, yeah, you think that kind of like, all that stuff is like, you know, it's kind of like a frenemies kind of thing. It's like half expect them to pop up to try to capture Pikachu and then get their ass kicked, blasting off again. It's the whole thing. But it's just, we gotten used to Jesse and James. It'd be kind of weird they're not showing up at a certain point. Uh, and their goofy antics, especially trying to sell merch or food at the different Pokemon leagues while Ash is doing his thing. That's also my personal favorite times to view what Jesse and James is doing. Also, when Jesse and James, get antagonized by Butch and Cassidy, which I also want to make a point that I love the idea behind their names being a play off of iconic criminal names, Butch Cassidy, Jesse James. I just thought that was very clever. Anyway, I just want to put that out there because I'm not sure if I'm ever going to bring it up again. Uh, but they managed to get to the island despite their boat crashing in the waters. But Jesse and James and Meowth sneak in the building while Ash and his people go in and meet the other trainers, where they also end up meeting the secret trainer, being obviously Mewtwo. And uh, uh, Mewtwo making a plan of cloning every Pokemon, and because he doesn't like the fact he already doesn't like humans, period. But he also don't like the Pokemon because they choose to be enslaved essentially by these humans. So he doesn't view them any better. So I essentially want to make a world for just him and his clones, a clone world essentially. So Ash and the other trainers try to fight Mewtwo, but he's a powerful psychic. Doesn't work. He ends up cloning Venusaur, Charizard, and a Blastoise to the most, not only their most peak levels, but enhance them to a point where they clearly step up powerful than the originals. Kind of like he's like probably like a slight step up in power than Mew, technically. Even though Mew does kind of whoop his ass. Speaking of Mew, clearly like a very playful Pokemon, despite the power it wields. It happens to be around and follows Team Rocket into the facility, which they end up learning about the mechanisms that's cloning these Pokemon and Mewtwo's creation. Not sure why it didn't also bring up the fact that it was funded by Team Rocket, their own organization. But as and this is also during a time when Charizard still was not listening to Ash. I completely forgot that was like a huge thing with Ash, where Charmeleon, eventually Charizard, because Ash wasn't properly training or connecting with them for a time, because Ash was still learning as he was coming along, and Charizard kind of want to do things on his own for the most part. Either if the opponent doesn't seem strong enough, he's just going to just lay there and not do nothing and then completely ignore Ash, or just throw out a little flamethrower to burn him a bit to just kind of like piss off kind of attitude. But when he does recognize a serious threat, he goes in, does his own thing, completely ignoring what Ash is saying altogether. It wasn't until around the Johto League when he starts listening to Ash. But anyway, one trainer is Blastoise, another trainer is Venusaur, get completely wrecked, and Ash with his Charizard gets wrecked. He lasts longer, but it still gets wrecked by Mewtwo's Charizard. And then Mewtwo sends out his own makeshift Pokeballs and sends them flying, capturing all the trainer's Pokemon. And Ash, when I was a kid, thought it was like a smart idea initially, but the writers kind of thought of it, where it's like he's like, oh wow, he can't capture them; they're already in their Pokeballs. But these things somehow was able to capture the Pokeballs with the Pokemon inside it, regardless. I was like, dang, that's kind of effed up. But then Pikachu's the last one left, and he running, shooting down all these the black Pokeballs, and he ends up tiring himself out, and Ash, nearly say got him before a Pokeball captured Pikachu, and he goes after it and wrecks the machine underneath to get his Pokemon back. He rescues all the captured Pokemon while the clones the DNA sampler created goes off to join Mewtwo. Ash leading all the originals to go after the clones, but Mewtwo kind of nullifies all their powers, so now they actually got to go into a legit brawl. It's kind of like if you play the game, if you use up all your special moves, then only thing left for your Pokemon to do is struggle, and essentially that's what they're doing. They're using struggle, but it gotten to the point where, well, eventually Mew shows up, and I love this. It still kind of makes me giggle a bit. While Mewtwo's kind of monologuing because he feels, he has a chip on his shoulder because of the original, because he feels like, it's because of you that I am here, and I have a bad experience because they want to make another you, and so I blame you for my crappy existence. But while he's monologuing, Mew is kind of like playing around in the air, completely not giving him any kind of of airtime. And I was just like as a kid, I was watching with my little brother and a couple of other relatives. We was busting up laughing. I was like, he's not even listening. He doesn't give zero care about what you got to say, man. But then he starts attacking Mew, and Mew dodges pretty effortlessly, except for one that got him in the chin, sends him skyrocketing in the air. He sends a big blast back, knocking Mewtwo into the stands. Because he makes his own little Pokemon court. For some reason, why he cares for like a makeshift Pokemon stadium where he doesn't care about like any of this kind of stuff. But then the fight is getting to the point of getting very brutal. It's like then all the people there, and it's kind of weird because it's always everybody who's seen this scene. I think this is their least favorite scene in the entire movie, and I tend to agree because I'm not sure what the dub writers thought what they were doing, trying to teach young kids like a lesson about like the dangers of forcing people to fight or just fighting in general. But because got the characters talking about Pokemon not meant to fight, not like this. Yes, they are. Every time they say something, it's like they're not meant to do this. Yes, they are. They're exactly designed outside of maybe capturing. Because the I gotta catch them all theme to this, or lingo or the tagline. is they're meant to be captured so that they can battle each other. That's part of the fun. They're exactly made for this. What are you talking about? And if you watch the Japanese version, that's slightly less confusing, but still kind of confusing because I've seen clips where they're talking about like the whole cloning thing and how the 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 ethics behind it, and I guess they couldn't bring that into the dub version because I guess they didn't think young kids would be smart enough to grasp that big of an issue. But I don't know, they didn't give us kids enough credit. uh but their solution didn't help any better. It's like, fighting is bad. I don't think this is the material you want to give that kind of lesson to. So I didn't really care for that. But Ash gotten sick of the fighting, so he's telling everybody to stop. As Mew and Mewtwo sends out big psychic blasts at each other, Ash runs into the middle and gets caught up in the blast and was turned into stone. And I'm not sure about the Japanese. I'm pretty sure the Japanese still have the same kind of thing. But I'm thinking, I don't expect Ash to be evaporated, because it wasn't like maybe like two hyper beams coming at each other. Then I expect them some kind of like evaporation. But he was turned to stone. I expect him to be kind of singed, and because it's a psychic thing, his mind should be in maybe like a catatonic state or something. I guess you got the same thing with turning into stone, but it just doesn't make any sense. Why is he turned to stone? But this is where the tears come into play. This is one of the saddest moments, and if you grew up watching this, it's always brings some people to tears, because you see Pikachu trying to constantly wake up Ash by trying to shock him. What I would have wanted is not just Pikachu, but I wanted Charizard, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur to go over there to try each one trying to wake him up, because Pikachu tried to state to Mewtwo, because Meow kind of translates, whereas well, no, Meow didn't translate, because Mewtwo is psychic, so he translates. But Pikachu viewed Ash as a friend, and they always treat each other as friends because they've been through a lot with each other. Mewtwo always thought this was like pathetic, as a joke. Pokemon can't be friends with each other because nobody ever treated him as a friend. But been, because I remember the episode, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Pokemon fans remember the episode where Ash was trapped in that snowy cave because from like a avalanche, and his Pokemon didn't want to go back in their Pokeballs to save themselves with warmth, because they refused to have Ash freeze to death. They feel like, if you're gonna go, we're gonna go with you. It's just like any pet that you have. They will curdle up with you. They end up, cuddling up with Ash. All his Pokemon that he, had at the time, cuddle up with him. And this is when Charizard was still a Charmander at the time. And they all cuddled up with him to give him warmth. And you see Ash give him like that little running tear. That was like one of the most memorable moments in Pokemon history, outside of the battles. And also as equally memorable as like the Charmander episode, when we first introduced the Charmander at the time. And I would have wanted something similar to that episode, where all his Pokemon, even Charizard, despite his attitude towards Ash, he still, uh, uh, sees deep down, he still sees Ash as his friend. He still cares to some degree about him. You know, he doesn't want to listen to him. Doesn't mean he doesn't care. Uh, uh, where each one tries to use their unique powers to try to wake him up, and failing, and they crying at the failed attempts, and that should be what. That's how I would have done it, because that should be something that Mewtwo would have seen. Like I thought they was lying about the whole friendship thing, but no, they truly care about him. Uh, they all gathered to him to try to help him. Uh, that would have been a lot more powerful. I mean, it's still powerful with Pikachu because Pikachu's the closest one, and he's his first Pokemon. But it was still, you know, get it still achieve the same thing. But I just would have preferred all his Pokemon to give some help. But anyway, all the Pokemon around seeing this, they shared a tear, and since tears bring life in the Japanese, they never really brought that into the dub because I guess they didn't think it would make sense to the Westerners. But they kind of leave it out and just say it's magical, whatever. The tears bring Ash out of the stone state, and he's revived. Mewtwo gets a change of heart, and not only takes the clones with him and Mew to find a peaceful place to live, and he can learn more about the connection between Pokemon and humans. And then here's another thrown in power set. He not only, because he had like a assistant, which is like a missing Nurse Joy kind of thing, but that was I just got to make sure I threw that in there. He reverses time and made them forget. Now I buy the whole making them forget because that's part of the whole psychic trope, but reversing time up to the point where they was on the island. I guess there's only a limited amount of reversal of time he can do, but you couldn't. He had this power you couldn't reverse all the way back to before you probably killed a bunch of scientists on that island. But I guess that doesn't really matter. They were bad guys anyway. I guess whatever. So now they have all that lesson about not fighting got completely eroded because what's the point to it if he's gonna kind of get rid of it? But they back on the shores of the facility, completely forgetting why they were there. And so as the storm clears up, Ash spies Mew briefly in the sky, kind of very reminiscent to him seeing Ho-Oh for the first time in the very first episode. And they continue on with their Pokemon journey. And that was Mewtwo, Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. And this I like the story still well enough. It still relatively holds up except certain parts. It kind of felt a little choppy in terms of the narrative. But it's fun to revisit these characters. I love the animation. Still holds up for me personally. I think a lot of Pokemon fans still hold this movie in very high regard. It's one of the highest grossing anime films in America. At least I think it got dethroned after a point, but it was at least one of the most highest grossing Pokemon anime movies of all time in terms of the West. Or America specifically. But yeah, I love the animation. The voice actors did an impeccable job, and of course, is our first introduction to Mewtwo. Matter of fact, I know I went to a theater to go see this because I remember getting one of the because they hand out Pokemon cards, at least like either Mew, you either get Mew or Mewtwo randomly, and they hand out to the kids as they go to the theater to go see it. I think I got Mewtwo. I can't remember. It's been a very long time. Because I don't even think I'm pretty sure I have a Mewtwo and a Mew currently, but not the one that was specifically for the movie. Besides, Pokemon trading cards definitely evolved over the years, no pun intended, from how it was when the Indigo League was going on. Anyway, that was Pokemon the first movie. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think, because man, I still love this film. It's very nostalgic, despite issues with certain bits of the story. But I will see you guys soon for another Pokemon film while we're on this Pokemon train. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you all soon. Peace.